G'day, welcome to the latest CSBP Market Update. I'm Grey Johnston and I'm joined this week by Manraj Chatha, our CSBP's Procurement and Shipping Officer. Something a bit different this week. We're talking about all the things that are happening along the WA coastline as the fertiliser is rolling in ahead of peak dispatch season. Manraj.
Morning, Grey.
We've had you on the big podcast before. Tell us what's happening in the shipping market in WA at the moment.
Well, there are a few challenges we're facing in shipping. First of all, this is the period for importing of urea. Most of the players buy urea from the Middle East, that is East Coast and West Coast, and there's a specific kind of ships which meet the criteria from quarantine requirement point of view. So everyone's competing for the same ships in the Middle East, so there's a lot of competition to get the right ship to come into WA. Once you come into WA, we have a few problems across the coast. Geraldton coast is congested for about 7 days just because of the sheer volume. Albany had a shut from the 2nd to the 12th of April. Esperance had a maintenance shut from 8th to the 22nd of April. Kwinana, there is a lot of volume coming through the Kwinana port at the moment, as well as they are still dealing with the after effects of the fire, especially the fact that we don't have the conveyors. And so the cargoes which used to take 7 days or 8 days now would take about close to 15 to 17. So the whole coast is congested at the moment and it's really difficult to manage shipping.
I'm just imagining a newspaper headline, chaos along the coastline. Manraj, we're lucky to have you managing it for us at CSBP. You talked about regional ports being closed for a substantial period of time in April. Is that normal?
We normally, when we have meetings with the regional ports, we always ask them to avoid periods between start of April to the end of July, but they've got their own criteria, availability of subcontractors and stuff. So everyone's working to their targets, and sometimes the thought patterns don't align. So we have to deal with what's dealt to us.
And then in Kwinana, you talked about the aftermath of the fire. Can you just explain a bit more how that's having an impact on wait times in the bulk market?
So currently, the wait time in Kwinana, the congestion is close to about 15 days. We had a stakeholder forum last week in which it was advertised to all the stakeholders by FPA that, manage your inventories in a way, not basis the ETA or the arrival of the vessel, but arrival plus 14 to 15 days. So it's really complicated.
And that's largely because ships are taking longer to unload?
Some ships are taking longer to unload, which used to use the conveyors. So the discharge time has blown out, and then the sheer volume just coming in because we have all the petroleum coming in, then all the fertilizers. So there's just the sheer volume of the ships coming in at this time of the year.
So what are we doing at CSBP to help manage that?
Look, in these times of peak congestion across the coast of WA, CSBP's priority berthing arrangements at Kwinana assist us in unloading the vessel, at least in Kwinana, and then we can distribute them to the regional ports as per farmers' requirements by road. So we have the optionality to meet the customer demand, at least if we have the product in one of the ports.
Great to hear, Manraj, and look, hopefully that gives growers out there confidence to commit their volumes to CSBP this season. Best reliability is one of our tenets, and we're really confident that despite the challenges around the coastline this year, we'll be able to deliver on that for growers this year. We'll be back again next week. We recognise that since we had Ben on the market update last week, there's been continued movement in the global urea market, and we'll be sure to get Ben back on next week to talk about how that's all continued to play out. But until then, thanks for joining us, Manraj.
Thanks, Gray.
And we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
This podcast is provided as general information only. The content of this podcast is not a recommendation and has been prepared without taking your objectives or circumstances into account. Before acting on the content of this, you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances and seek independent advice.